Hey guys, what is up? So today we are diving into this Heather McDonald drama, this never-ending drama. It's called Gate. If you don't know all the details, I will summarize it in this video. However, I did make a previous video. I will leave that link in the description box below if you want to watch that first and then hop over to this video. If not, that's good too. But anyways, with that being said, let's get right into the video. So we're really going to summarize the facts here because the reality is that Heather McDonald has talked about this incident on her Patreon, has had emergency Patreons, and she's also discussed it at BravoCon, and she has also discussed it with Jeff Lewis' former employees, Brandy and Julie. So there's been a lot of conversations about Gate, but I'm going to sum it up and give you my thoughts and opinions. So Heather explains with us that January 26, 2023, this year, she was currently friends with KRISTA LLAMAS. If you don't know who KRISTA is, she is close friends with Jeff Lewis. So Heather goes on to say that she actually ended up inviting Jeff Lewis to an event at her country club, and then Jeff brought KRISTA. And what was kind of interesting and somewhat funny is that Heather shares with us that after this event at her country club, a little bit after that, KRISTA ends up sending Jeff a cease and desist because apparently Jeff went on talking about how KRISTA is a bad mother, and the two did not speak for a year. KRISTA and Jeff Lewis did not speak for a year. And I believe the reason why Heather obviously brought this up was to really put things into place, give us a perspective on Jeff Lewis of how even his friends want to sue him. He's not really a great person. And I understand, like, a lot of people dislike Jeff Lewis, but in any situation when this occurs, I do also, as a human being, I will straight up be like, okay, but you knew this and you were friends with Jeff still. You know what I mean? So I get that Jeff Lewis, he's a horrible person and yada, yada, yada. But I'm also like in the back of my head, like, you know, you were friends with him too. So during this time when Jeff Lewis and KRISTA were not speaking, Heather shares with us that she was speaking to KRISTA, that she continued her friendship with her. So here is how Gate happened. So it happened around January. Heather McDonald, she had an event to go to and she invited KRISTA. Heather was already at the event and she says that she was on some podcast prior, so she didn't have any earrings with her. And KRISTA hadn't shown up at the event yet. So she asked KRISTA, hey, can I borrow some earrings? I don't have any. KRISTA said, sure, okay. And, you know, she shows us a photo of, this is the moment in the bathroom where, you know, KRISTA gave me the earrings, right? And then after the earrings, Heather does proceed to tell us that KRISTA never asked for them back and she forgot about it. Now, I think it's pretty obvious that if someone is going to loan me an earring, I don't even care if the earring's at the 99-cent store. You should, as a decent person, a decent friend, give the earrings back. That's just my opinion, but anyways, so Heather goes on and she says that, well, in February, you know, KRISTA and I, we hanged out, we went on vacation, and she never once mentioned the earrings. Heather also shares with us that she had gone on vacation in April with Rick and Kelly, and that she had this traveling bag, this jewelry traveling bag, which had the earrings in there. She packed the earrings in there. And I thought that was very interesting because I'm like, well, you didn't really forget about it. If you did, you did at the moment, but then you didn't forget about it because you packed it with you. You packed it with you. You know what I mean? When KRISTA gave you those earrings, they weren't in a traveling bag. She gave it to you. You had to put it in the traveling bag. And I feel like I also need to notate here that let's normalize like having different opinions about the people that we watch. Because I'm a viewer. I do watch Heather McDonald as well. But you're allowed to like have a difference of opinions, and it's not like team Heather, team Jeff, you know, team KRISTA, team, you know, whomever. At the end of the day, we should be able to normalize not agreeing or disagreeing with someone that we watch and it be okay. Anyways, so Heather did bring the earrings on that trip in April with Rick and Kelly, and you can see her dancing around in a restaurant, and apparently that's when she loses the earrings. Heather goes on to share with us that she did call the restaurant. They actually went back to the restaurant the next day, and they could not find the earrings. Heather goes on to say, had she known those earrings cost in the thousands, she definitely wouldn't have been okay just having a fun time on the trip after losing her friend's earrings. So as Heather is going down this timeline of events, she even brings up June. She's like going through the months here. She brings up June as she's sitting with Julie and Brandy, the two former employees of the Jeff Lewis live show, discusses with them that in June during her birthday, they were there. And so was KRISTA. She was there as well. They attended. And Heather does make it a point to say, I paid for everything. I paid for the dinner. You guys came, but I still paid. Like throughout when she's telling the story, she wants it to be very clear that, when they would go on outings, that she would pay. And it felt to me that Heather was mentioning that to kind of be like, look, guys, like, I'm not this horrible person. Like, I don't need to steal $100 earrings or $10,000 earrings or $3,000 earrings, like I could pay my own way. So I think that's why she kept mentioning that. But even then, she wants to make it a point to say in June, KRISTA never mentioned the earrings. I would like to make it a point and say, at this time, Heather should have just returned the earrings. Like I said, I don't care how much the earrings are. At the end of the day, she should have returned the earrings. Then we go to September where Heather's like, all this happened, everything was good. And then in September, Heather McDonald is a bad friend. And, she should go to jail. She's a felon because she didn't give KRISTA back her $10,000 earrings. Like, she's like, how did it get from June to here? So after that Jeff Lewis live show, Heather says that she had a conversation with her husband where they were like, let's just give her the money for those earrings to call it a day, to end it. KRISTA told Heather the earrings were $2,700 to $3,000. Immediately a check got sent for $3,000. KRISTA cashed it, but unfortunately it did not end there. Heather is upset because they keep playing like this Jeff Lewis live. They keep playing the promo for it of, the earring gate, and it is supposed to be funny. I've listened to it, but the problem is that every single time they play that promo, Heather is receiving so much hate from it. It's social media, so it's going to happen. Once you're in this game, people are going to send you hate. It does seem to me that Heather would really appreciate it if they would stop playing that promo on the Jeff Lewis Live. During this video, she mentions that she suffered a lot from this through sponsorships, relationship-wise, and the lack of sleep, anxiety. I get it. When you're receiving a bunch of hate, it's understandable. So anyways, now we get to the earring being appraised. So Heather says, this is how she tells the story, that what really inspired her to go to the jewelry store was Raquel or Rachel Leviss had auctioned off her lightning bolt necklace that she said was going to go to charity. And so Heather McDonald was like, okay, maybe I can do the same, try to make a laugh out of this and bring the earring into a jeweler and see what, I can get from this, maybe melt it down, make the earrings into two, auction it off and let it go to a charity. So it turns out when she tried to get this earring appraised, it turns out that it cost like $100. That's what it was worth. Heather goes on to share with us that she did go to other jewelers that said about the same thing. Now here is where there's a huge divide before we get into whether or not Heather McDonald should be defending herself, which is an obvious answer. I believe there are two reasons to how this whole entire thing started. I think this whole entire thing started the moment Heather went on Jeff Lewis Live and you had Megan, who was pretty much coming for Heather, saying that no one likes you. Megan said so much more, and Jeff Lewis being in the middle, having Megan be his friend and Heather being his friend, kind of just did not say anything and was just stuck in the middle, which is very weird for Jeff Lewis because this is the person that impulsively says anything they want and never get held accountable for any of it. This is the person that says so many inappropriate things. Look, Jeff Lewis is a whole entire video, but it was really weird to me listening to all of this, how Jeff is just in the middle. And I understand two of these people, Heather's supposed to be his friend, Megan's supposed to be his friend, and yet he's just like, zip, doesn't really say much. So anyways, I understand that's probably how this drama started, because after that, Heather was like, I'm never going back on that show. I was treated unfairly. But other people believe that earring gate really started with Justin Martindale. And long story short there, I do a better job of explaining it in my video that I did prior, so feel free to watch that. But long story short, Justin Martindale felt like Heather McDonald wasn't a friend. He was a guest comedian or a reoccurring comedian comedian on Heather McDonald's show called The Juicy Scoop. And there was a controversy that happened where Justin felt that Heather didn't have his back. You know, Justin felt that Heather could have made a statement about it, and that didn't happen. And so ultimately, Justin then went on his show and was an advocate for himself. So there's just a lot of drama going on. And so that's why a lot of people are like Team Justin, Team Jeff, Team Heather. Like, a lot of people are all over the place because of how, you know, they believe this beef originated. Anyways, does Heather McDonald have the right to defend herself? The answer is, of course, yes. Like, if I was in the same position as Heather McDonald, of course I would. Now, the problem is that it was never really about the earrings to begin with. That is the problem, and Jeff Lewis made it the problem. Why couldn't Jeff Lewis just go ham on Heather McDonald without using KRISTA in the mix? Why? That was KRISTA's story, not Jeff's story. I understand KRISTA doesn't have a platform, but who cares? It made absolutely no sense to me that he incorporated that story in. I knew he was trying to bash Heather's character, you know, but it just, now Heather McDonald doesn't even have to defend her not defending Justin Martindale, you know, and let's be real, she should have instead, but she cared more about the content, the views, her subscriber, her business, etc., right? So the reality is that now everyone only cares about Earringgate when the real issue is, Jeff, where were you and how come you didn't defend Heather when Megan was saying all this rude, negative crap about her? And Heather, just admit that you were being a shitty friend to Justin Martindale, that you cared more about keeping your bag, keeping your business, and defending your friend. That is the real issue at stake. But now it's too late, because now Jeff Lewis put this lie or possible lie out into the universe. And so now this is what Heather is talking about and defending. Now she doesn't really have to answer to anything else because y'all most likely lied on her. And I don't blame Heather. I don't blame her. A lot of the criticisms that Heather gets is that she's a clout chaser, that she's doing this for views because, you know, she will have an emergency Patreon and put like the most important things on there. And it's like, if you really did care about the issue, then you would want everyone to know, not just the people who are paying for, you know, to listen. So I understand where the criticisms come for Heather McDonald. But the reality is, at this point, y'all gave her no choice anyways. Actually, Jeff Lewis gave her an easy out, and he's probably hating himself right now for it. But he gave Heather McDonald an easy out because the moment you lie on her, she has that right to respond, period. And one thing I did find pretty interesting in Heather's video is that she starts this story of, well, the reason why I went to get the earrings appraised is because I originally wanted to auction off these earrings for charity, yada, yada, yada. But then in the next breath, she goes on to say the audience that paid to see me in Vegas during BravoCon deserved the Juicy Scoop receipt. So to me, all that tells me is that you really went there, which is fine, just admit it, but you really went there to basically get your receipts, call KRISTA out, and then show everybody at BravoCon. And mind you, that's perfectly fine to do that, but just say that. It just didn't come straightforward, which isn't a big deal. But as a viewer listening, and I love like storytelling as well, but as a viewer listening, it just felt like, just say the reason you went in there, girl. That's all you have to say. But anyways, let's continue. She then discusses how Jeff Lewis, he targets women all the time. And I will agree that I feel like Jeff Lewis gets away with so much and he does not get checked ever. Jeff Lewis is a man that does not get checked ever. And what's even more concerning is that you have these three people here who had some relationship with Jeff Lewis, friendship, workship, whatever, right? And they all still worked with him anyways. They were all still friends with him anyways. I get right now they're here reflecting on the person that Jeff Lewis is. But I'm just saying, y'all didn't have a problem with it when y'all were friends with him until now, until y'all were sitting in the hot seat. So I just wanted to notate that. To show us how Jeff Lewis exploits women, Heather even brings up a time where, I guess at a party or function, you have MJ from Shaws of Sunset. She said something along the lines, I mean, MJ was drunk, but she did say that Heather McDonald was a and that she hoped that she died in a car crash. Anyways, Jeff Lewis thought that was funny enough to then play it to the public, to people. Now, I understand the reason why Heather brought this up was to make the point that Jeff Lewis exploits women at any cost. However, because Heather did bring up this specific example, if Heather is still in her feelings about this, because I would, especially if there was no apologies given, I don't know if there was, but if Heather is still in her feelings about this, when I went to BravoCon, I was super, super nice, but I did ask MJ. I asked her if she could squash any beef with any Bravo celebrity, who would it be? And I will say, I'm going to play the clip. I took this from another live stream that wasn't mine, but they caught me asking the question. So take a listen to what MJ says.
He's been busting his butt all weekend.
He really has. He's been out here all weekend doing this.
Audience questions for the group. Take it over, Donald.
Okay, yes, I'm here with our audience, and we are going to keep our clothes on and ask some questions. So, what is your name and what's your question?
My name is Blossom, and my question is for him. MJ. If you were to squash beef with any Bravo celebrity, who would it be?
Good question.
Ooh,
Well, I don't compete with anyone except for maybe some Shaw's people. And I would always want to have like another talk since we're much more mature now, so that we can like just have the good memories, you know? We all change, we all learn from our mistakes. So I'm good with all the other Bravo celebrities.
Nice. See, I'm a fan, so I want to know.
Yeah.
Any specifics, Beth?
Yeah, I hear a lot that when Asa and I.
So to really summarize MJ's response here, pretty much if she did have a beef with you, she would want to talk to you now, because she will assume that you guys are both mature now, and you know, people do make mistakes. So people grow, they learn, they evolve, they change, and so she would be willing and open to having that conversation if you guys didn't already have a conversation. So that answers that, if Heather was still in her feelings about that, because you guys know how this goes. Just because people apologize, it doesn't mean they're actually sympathetic. It doesn't mean that they actually care or that they're really sorry for it. I would understand, even if there was an apology in the beginning, why Heather would feel like she would want another conversation with MJ, just because, I mean, come on, like, MJ was like, I hope you car crash. So anyways, that MJ would be open to a conversation, like she said, if they didn't already have one. So Heather pretty much ends the topic of talking about Jeff Lewis by saying that she's not putting up with Jeff defaming her anymore, and she hopes that people can see for what it really is. And honestly, I was okay with this episode with Heather. I mean, I know it's been a minute this episode aired, but overall, I think this episode really sums up what Heather McDonald's been talking about on her Patreon, you know what I mean? Or talking about in other videos, things of that nature. I will say this. Remember that episode in September on Jeff Lewis Live on Sirius, where he had KRISTA and Justin Martindale on? I know he has had Justin Martindale on as a guest regular, but there was an episode where there was KRISTA and Justin Martindale. People were hoping that KRISTA and Justin would go in and talk about Heather. Now, they didn't talk about Heather at all, because I was listening on that episode, but they did get a caller congratulating them on, like, you know, you guys could have sat here and talked about Heather, but you didn't. And they were getting praised for taking the high road. But now looking back, I thought to myself, even then I thought to myself, I was like, I wonder, did they take the high road because they were just being a better person, not giving Heather McDonald the attention that she wanted? Or did they decide to take the high road because they knew those earrings didn't cost $10,000, or KRISTA knew they didn't cost that? So I don't really know what to think about that. I just know that this is what I said about KRISTA in my last video, and my feelings still remain the same. Take a listen. So then this popular name keeps showing up, KRISTA. Jeff makes this comment that KRISTA knows where all the bodies are buried. And I'm sorry, guys, but if you can't tell, I'm red flagging the heck out of KRISTA, because Jeff then shares with us, just to be really petty, to be really nasty, that Heather had borrowed some diamond earrings worth $10,000 from KRISTA. They were like diamond hoops, and Heather has not returned them since. And so Jeff's like, you can sue her. You can do one of three things. Ask her to return your earrings back, ask her to replace the earrings, or ask her to give you the money for the earrings. And Jeff goes, KRISTA, you don't have a platform, but you have one now. But the reason why I'm red flagging KRISTA here is because, to me, if this is my friend, if this is truly my friend, if this is my friend that I go to Cabo with and everything, one, I'm going to ask for those earrings back. And if she doesn't give it back, then she's not a real friend. And you can take legal action if you choose to. But you're telling then Jeff this? I just don't understand. I don't know if it's just this whole, this is what you do when you have a podcast and you're under that Bravo umbrella. You talk about friends on podcasts and shows. Because if this is the thing where everyone's monetizing off of it, benefiting from it any way they can, then I guess okay, but it just doesn't seem like a real friend. To me, I am more of, if you have a problem with Heather, you take it up with Heather. You don't sit there and then tell Jeff about it. To me, KRISTA was never a true friend to at least Heather. But to me, at the same time, if you can talk about someone, what makes you think that person won't talk about you? Feel me? Now, this is a Justin and Jeff. If KRISTA can sit there and talk about Heather, what makes you think that KRISTA's not sitting there and talking about y'all to Heather? I'm not really trusting in situations like that because it's just not for me. So pretty much, I believe KRISTA is a red flag. I think Justin Martindale needs to watch his back because I don't care how many events he goes with KRISTA. I believe that KRISTA is a red flag. She's not a real friend in my opinion. No real friend would do that in my opinion. And unless Jeff Lewis and KRISTA have another falling out, I think Jeff Lewis is going to die on that hill of how do we not know Heather didn't get another earring and that's the fake earring that she got appraised. How do we not know this? And the reality is we don't know. We really don't know. We are just literally viewers sitting behind the screen watching all this go down. And we're just kind of or at least I am for the most part, gathering my notes here. And I'm just okay, well, this person said this and that person, well, it can't be true. Or that person, you know what I mean? We're all just kind of okay, we don't really 100% know what went down. So for me, I watch people on a human to human level and I look at them over time. I read them. I'm you lied here or you lied. You know what I mean? You just got to watch in the long run to see who's telling the truth or who's not. Right now, we really don't know. So I will say, just a side note, when Brandy, she's saying in this video, Heather, I'm about to have a panic attack. I'm about to have, anxiety. And Heather just kind of keeps going on hold up, put your panic attack and anxiety on pause while we talk about this. I mean, probably in Heather's defense, she's well, you knew this is what we were going to talk about today. So, but still, it felt pretty cold on Heather's part and she probably should have just kept the topic going on. And if she really wanted to talk about it, then have those two not be there because those two being there, the employees that Jeff Lewis fired is complete shade from, day one. That's complete. When you saw that they were coming and talking about this, shade, absolute shade. I don't know how you guys feel about it. I felt like Heather should have had just moved on to other topics, but at the same time, there's no way in hell Brandy or Julie didn't know that they weren't going to come there and talk about Jeff Lewis. Feel me? So Heather goes on to say that she doesn't really know if Jeff Lewis' show is a place or is safe for women. How many moments did you document this while you were friends with him? And they all were. They were in a friendship or workship, whatever. And I guess you can give Brandy and Julie some slack because, well, no, because weren't they friends with Jeff prior to the show? So it just... Brandy and Julie, they do share with us that they know it's part of the game. They were a part of it, so they do understand. So I'll give them that because they totally did say that. I forgot. But anyways, Heather, on the other hand, she's kind of acting as if this is all brand new, no one knows who Jeff Lewis is. And Jeff really acts like he's better than everyone else. Heather also mentions that if KRISTA did in fact give her back the $3,000, that she would give it to Lisa Vanderpump's foundation, Vanderpump Dogs. So Heather would, in the future, if she ever received the money back, would plan on giving the money to charity. But that is really my opinion on this matter. Heather McDonald, I don't care if those earrings cost 1 cent. You borrowed it, so you should have returned it. But you got off the hook because Jeff Lewis went out here volunteering information that he didn't need to, which gave you an open pass, an open door to pretty much talk about these earrings and nothing else. So those are my thoughts about this. Leave a comment below. Let me know what you think. But thank you guys for watching, and I will see you soon on the next video. Bye, guys.